Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tathastu. So, as part of our Prelims Aadharshila program, I am taking a series of lectures related to history, and that is from Dandi to Azadi. So, slowly from Dandi, we are inching closer to the Azadi day by day. And in the previous 9-10 lectures, I have covered a number of topics related to the freedom struggle. If we see the last class, we had discussed about Quit India movement. We had discussed about the leaders involved in Quit India movement. We had discussed why Quit India movement became inevitable. What were the reasons for that? Why the leaders decided that now is the time to launch Quit India movement. So that we had seen in the last class. In addition, we had also seen the program of Quit India movement, under which we had discussed about a number of things, including the phase of mass struggle when the people went on rampage. Then we had seen a phase of underground activity. Under underground activity, as I told you, there were three streams. One was Gandhian, led by Suchita Kriplani. Other was the radical one, led by Jayaprakash Narayan. And then there was the centrist one, led by Aruna Asaf Ali. In addition to that, I had also discussed about the Congress radio. Good evening, Roshan Jamir. We had also discussed about the Congress radio, which was going on at 42.36 meters from somewhere in India. By whom? By Usa Mehta. Then I had also discussed about the Karnataka method, which was deployed by peasants, under which they used to do farming in daytime, and in night time they used to get themselves involved in sabotage activities. In addition to that, we had also seen how the Gandhiji had gone on 21-day fast and what was its impact. Jai Hind Dhirendra, good evening Asya. So as I was discussing that all these things we had covered in the last class, and then in the final leg we had seen the assessment of Quit India movement, also the evaluation of Quit India movement also. Today, to begin with, I will be discussing a number of topics which include first the Rajaji formula, then Desai-Liaquat Pact, and then the Wavell plan. So all these things I will be discussing today. So let's first start with Rajaji formula. But before that, let's see chronologically how things went on from here. This Quit India movement, this continued, you can say, till mid of 1945. And if we see, Quit India movement continued, and then C. Raja Gopalachari came up with Rajaji formula. Came up with Rajaji formula. What was the timeline? April, May 1944. So this was the time when came the Rajaji formula. Then after Rajaji formula, if we see here, Gandhiji was released from jail, released from Aga Khan Palace. This was the time of May 1944. After the release of the Gandhiji, based on the Rajaji formula, discussions happened between Gandhiji and Jinnah. Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Gandhiji had discussion that was called Gandhi-Jinnah talk. It happened when? In September 1944. So if we see chronologically, after this, if we see, after this talk in January 1945, if we see, what happened is called Desai Liaquat Pact. We'll see what happened in this. So as we see, in January 1945 we had Desai Liaquat Pact, and then moving forward in July 1945 we had Simla Conference. Simla Conference में क्या हुआ? It was called in to discuss Wavell plan. It was called in to discuss Wavell plan. So this is the structure of today's class. First we will discuss about Rajaji formula, then Gandhi ji released, then Gandhi Jinnah Pact talks, and after that Desai Liaquat Pact, and then the Simla Conference, under which Wavell plan was discussed. So that this will be the broad contour of today's lecture. Let's start with Rajaji formula. If we see the Rajaji formula, what happened in this? Actually, a number of schemes or number of offers were coming from the British side to settle the issue, constitutional issue in India, whether it is August offer, whether it is Cripps mission, but all these were failing, all these were breaking down. They were unable to produce any concrete result. And why they were unable to produce these results? Because there was disagreement between Congress and Muslim League about the future of transfer of power, future of constitutional scheme which is going to be implemented in India. In order to break this deadlock between Congress and Muslim League, C. Rajagopalachari, who was a Congress leader, came up with his own formula, his own scheme of things. Good evening, Pramila. So, C. Rajagopalachari came up with his own formula, own scheme of things, so that the deadlock between Congress and Muslim League can be settled. This was called Rajaji formula, and this formula had the backing of Gandhiji. Gandhiji was backing C. Rajagopalachari in his endeavor. So if we see this formula, what was the most important point under this was, after the end of World War II, a post-war commission will be set up. What will be the function of this post-war commission? After the end of World War II, a post-war commission will be set up, and the function of this post-war commission will be to conduct plebiscite in Muslim dominated or Muslim majority areas, Muslim majority provinces. What were the Muslim majority provinces at that point of time? If we see northwest side, there was Balochistan, there was northwest frontier province, there was Sindh, there was Punjab, and if we see the east side of the country, there was Bengal. So 5 provinces mostly you can take: northwest frontier province, Sindh, Punjab, Balochistan and Bengal. So in these 5 Muslim majority areas, there will be plebiscite, and who will conduct this? A post-war commission set up for this. So first provision was post-war commission to conduct plebiscite in Muslim majority provinces. Now the question arises that why plebiscite was proposed to be conducted? Because through this plebiscite, it will be decided whether the people want to join, India, remain in India, or become a part of separate sovereign state. So that's why this plebiscite, it will decide whether to create separate sovereign state or not. This was the most important provision of this Rajaji formula. And second provision was, suppose if in plebiscite it is decided that yes, partition will happen. So if partition, then what will happen? So there will be some services which will be jointly controlled through a common center, and these services can be commerce, communication. Some services can be jointly controlled by a common center through, if partition is approved by the people. And what will be these common services? These common services will be commerce, communication, as well as defense, these things. So this was the main crux of Rajaji formula, that a plebiscite, and plebiscite will decide if partition will happen or not. If the people vote for partition, then in that condition, common center will be there, which will have some services jointly controlled, and those services will be defense, communications, commerce, etc. Now, what was the reaction of people to this? What was the reaction? So in order to discuss this Rajaji formula, Gandhi Jinnah talks happened. Gandhi Jinnah talks happened in September 1944, because Gandhiji was released in May 1944. So accordingly, in September 1944, Gandhi Jinnah talks happened. In this, Gandhiji went to the place of Jinnah, to the residence of Jinnah in Bombay, to have a discussion. But this discussion did not lead to any conclusion. This talk also failed. These talks also broke down. Why it broke down? Because there were a number of objections by the Muslim League on this. What was the objection of Muslim League to the proposal of Rajaji formula? Jinnah said that only Muslims in these provinces can vote in the plebiscite. Other communities cannot vote. For example, if you take Punjab had around 53-54% Muslims, but then there were 46% Sikhs, there were Hindus in Punjab. So according to Jinnah, only 54% Muslims should vote in plebiscite of Punjab. The 46% population cannot vote. So first was this objection of Jinnah or Muslim League. What was the objection? That only Muslims should vote in plebiscite. First was this. Second thing, Jinnah said, what if in a province, some area, some districts, people vote against partition, people want to remain with India, then those will be part of India and the rest of the districts will be part of Pakistan. And this is not acceptable to Jinnah. This was not acceptable to Muslim League and Jinnah. They said they want these 5 Muslim majority provinces in entirety. To quote Jinnah, he said, I do not want a mutilated and moth-eaten Pakistan. So another objection was 5 Muslim majority provinces in entirety, not mutilated and moth-eaten Pakistan. Third objection of Jinnah was that he was not ready for a common center jointly controlling some services like communication, commerce, defense. So third objection was common center not acceptable. This was also not acceptable to Jinnah. When these things were not acceptable to Jinnah, what will happen? This will lead to the failure of Gandhi-Jinnah talks, because Congress had gone way ahead to discuss these issues. If we see the proposals by Rajaji formula, this post-war commission to conduct plebiscite in a way was what? Acceptance of demand of Pakistan. Acceptance of demand of Pakistan. Because when you say that yes, we will conduct plebiscite, it means you are giving value to the idea of Pakistan. So Rajaji formula had already gone ahead towards the demand of Pakistan, but Jinnah was not happy with this, and because of these objections, the Gandhi-Jinnah talks failed. Gandhi-Jinnah talks broke down. In addition to this, if we see, there were other sides also who were not happy with Rajaji formula. Who were the other parties? For example, take the Sikh group. Sikhs were also not happy because in Punjab, they were definitely not in majority, but they feared that if this plebiscite is conducted, then whole Punjab will go to the side of Pakistan, which was not acceptable to the Sikh group. Similarly, the Hindu Mahasabha and the other groups, Hindu groups, they were also not happy because they wanted a united India. In fact, they had the desire of seeing Akhand Bharat. So this will be divided, it will not be Akhand. So they were also not happy. In addition to that, if we see the other group, like within Congress only, some leaders, they were also not happy within Congress because they said that the Jinnah is being appeased by this Rajaji formula. So this is nothing but appeasement of Jinnah. We are only giving legitimacy to the demands of the Muslim League by talking about plebiscite, by accepting the demand for Pakistan. So some within Congress were also not happy with this Rajaji formula. So that's all in Rajaji formula. Next we'll see the Desai-Liaquat Pact. Next we'll see the Desai-Liaquat Pact. It happened when? It happened in January 1945. So Rajaji formula also failed to end the deadlock. Rajaji formula also failed to end the deadlock, and that's why we have Desai-Liaquat Pact. Now the question arises, who was Desai? There was a Congress leader named Bhula Bhai Desai. Bhula Bhai Desai. If we talk about Bhula Bhai Desai, he was associated earlier with Home Rule League movement, Home Rule League. Then Bardoli Satyagraha, he was also associated with Bardoli Satyagraha. And later he joined Congress in 1930. So he joined Congress in 1930. So this is the brief about Bhula Bhai Desai. What happens that most of the Congress leaders are in jail, and when most of them are in jail, Bhula Bhai had a secret dialogue, secret discussion with whom? Liaquat Ali. Who was Liaquat Ali? Liaquat Ali was a Muslim League leader. In fact, you can say he was one of the most important Muslim League leader after Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So Bhula Bhai Desai secretly held, so this was secretly held talks between the two, which led to this Desai-Liaquat Pact. But what happened that in January 1945, the news was leaked to the people, and one fine day in newspapers, this came that Muslim League and Congress were working on a compromise, working on a pact, and because of this, everybody denied any such pact. In Congress also, in Muslim League also. In fact, in Congress, many of the leaders got angry with Bhulabhai Desai because Bhulabhai Desai did not had the backing of the Congress leaders. He was conducting this talk, this pact on his own, and so this pact failed. But first, let's see what was contained in this pact. What these two people, Bhulabhai Desai and Liaquat Ali, had discussed in this pact. So let's first see the proposal. If we see the proposals, first was whether it is central legislature or interim government. It talked about a parity between Congress and Muslim League in representation. So basically the main thing was the parity, the talk of parity between Congress and Muslim League in the representation. This was the main thing which was discussed by this pact, and in this parity it proposed that 40% members from Muslim League, 40% from Congress, and 20% to other minorities, which include Sikhs, which include depressed classes, etc., which include Anglo-Indians, etc. So this was the proposal by Bhulabhai Desai and Liaquat Ali. But this was not agreed. First, the proposal itself did not have the backing of the leaders from Congress and Muslim League. Second thing, Congress rejected this. Why? Because the parity. Congress said that if we see the United India at that point of time, the population of Muslims in United India was 25% to 30% only, and it is talking about the parity between the representation from Congress and Muslim League, which cannot be true, which cannot be right, cannot be a right thing, because the population of Muslims was not at parity. They were way less, only 25 to 30%. Plus, Congress can never agree for parity between it and Muslim League. So that was the reason because of which Congress rejected this, because it was not acceptable for Congress to have parity. Whereas Muslim League was happy. It gave legitimacy. It gave a legitimacy to its demand for parity, demand for representation. So Muslim League was happy with this Desai-Liaquat Pact, but nothing happened of it, as I told you, because it did not have the backing from Congress and Muslim League, and so this pact also failed to break the constitutional deadlock between Congress and Muslim League. Next comes the Wavell plan. If we see Wavell, in October 1943, he had become the new viceroy, taking charge from whom? Lord Linlithgow. So he had become the new viceroy. What he did, he was also worried that how to find out the solution, how to find out the way out of this constitutional crisis, constitutional deadlock. And so he went to London. He went to London to discuss this issue with the Secretary of State, who was Emery at that point of time. So he went where? He went to London. I am talking about June 1945-96, and he had a discussion with Secretary of State, who was that? Emery. So he had a discussion with Emery, and in that discussion what came out was Wavell plan. Accordingly, he prepared what came out as a Wavell plan. Now, to discuss this Wavell plan, he came back to India and called for Simla conference in June, July 1945. But before seeing what happened in Simla conference, let's see what was the proposal. What was the proposal of Wavell plan? What Wavell plan proposed? So first proposal was that the Executive Council of Viceroy will be completely Indian. It will be entirely Indian except two posts. One was the post of Viceroy, other was the post of Commander-in-Chief. So all members of Viceroy's Executive Council will be Indian except two people. One Viceroy, other Commander-in-Chief. So one was this: entire Viceroy Executive Council to be Indian except Viceroy and Commander-in-Chief. So first proposal was this, which was okay, but the next thing that it proposed was something which was not acceptable to the people. So first was this entire Viceroy Executive Council to be Indian. Second proposal, if we see, second proposal, it said equal representation in this Executive Council. There will be equal representation for caste Hindus. When I write caste Hindus, means basically the upper caste Hindus. So equal representation for caste Hindus and Muslims. So again, parity between caste Hindus and Muslims it proposed. And this was again going to break down. Why? Because people were not happy with this. Second thing, it said that there will be separate representation. As I told you, separate representation for depressed classes, scheduled classes and other minorities. But this was the main thing, that equal representation of caste Hindus and Muslims. Now what happened, that to discuss this proposal of Wavell plan, Simla conference was called. Simla conference was called. When it happened? In June, July 1945. In this, 21 leaders were invited. 21 Indian leaders were invited in this Simla conference. One more thing, before convening this Simla conference in June 1945, all the Congress leaders who were in jail, they were released unconditionally. They were released unconditionally as a goodwill gesture, so that this conference can succeed. 21 leaders were called, including Gandhiji, Muhammad Ali Jinnah and others. But what happened, that Jinnah said that all the Muslims in this Viceroy Executive Council will be nominated by only Muslim League. Just understand this. Jinnah said that all the Muslims in the Viceroy's Executive Council, equal representation for caste Hindus and Muslims, and all Muslims, who is going to nominate? Muslim League. That is what Jinnah said. What does it mean? It means Congress is just a party of Hindu people, caste Hindus. Congress does not have Muslims in it. Congress does not represent Muslim population. It represents only caste Hindus. On the other hand, Congress was adamant, the leadership of Congress was adamant that Maulana Azad who is the current Congress president will be nominated from Congress side. And Jinnah will not agree to this because he clearly said Muslims will be represented by Muslim League, Hindus by the Congress. So this got rejected. So this Wavell plan broke down or failed. Why? Because Congress said that if I accept this proposal, then Congress will become just a Hindu party, which is not acceptable to Congress. So it had the objection to this, that Congress is not the party of caste Hindu only. It has among its other people also, and it was adamant that we will nominate Maulana Azad as a member of the council. So that was the objection from Congress. In addition to that, another provision which Muslim League was asking for, veto power. See, already Wavell plan was giving equal representation, but Muslim League was not happy with this. What it was asking for? It was asking for veto power. If any constitutional provision is not acceptable to the Muslim League, then Muslim League can veto that provision. And that was also not acceptable to Congress, because Congress said already you are getting equal representation, now you want veto also. This is not acceptable to us, and that's why this Wavell plan also collapsed. Good evening, Jamshed. So that's why this Wavell plan also collapsed. So in Simla conference, as we have seen, it was convened to discuss the Wavell plan. 21 leaders were called. All the Congress leaders were released from jail before Wavell plan. Discussion of Wavell plan as a goodwill gesture, but this also ended in failure. It could not break down, it could not end the constitutional deadlock which was going on. So that's all in today's lecture. We have discussed today about Rajaji formula, Desai-Liaquat Pact and Wavell plan, and all three failed to break the constitutional deadlock. In next class, we'll discuss other topics like Indian National Army, like Cabinet Mission, 1946 elections, and slowly we'll move towards the freedom, Azadi. In next 4-5 lecture, we'll try to wrap up this series, Dandi to Azadi. So that's all today in this lecture. If you have any doubt, you feel free to ask. Thank you. I think no one is having any doubt. So that's all. Thank you.